in Fairhope who he's the city horticulturist, and Tim's going to tell us, first of all, Tim, go ahead and tell us where you're from, where were you born and where you grew up and all that.
Originally I was born in a little place called Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, that
so
little place.
So I'm kind of a little ways off. Moved down here in 1967, and then I went to in Spanish Fort.
Oh, you moved all the way down to Fairhope?
From Fairhope. I originally became a resident of Fairhope, I guess, when I got married, which was in 1977. When I really became
But you
a
first
resident.
came here in what?
When I first came to the area was in 1967.
And that was to Spanish Fort?
That was to Spanish Fort.
Okay.
I went to Fairhope High and graduated from Fairhope High in 1973. I went on to Auburn and graduated in Auburn in ornamental horticulture in 1977.
Well, how about that? Did you know my son, Rob Schneider, in high school? He would be a year ahead of you.
I knew some Schneiders. I know a lot of different people, mainly by faces.
I didn't realize that you were had been here that long. Okay.
Rob and my daughter Paula Rockwell were in grade.
I knew Paula.
Grade behind, or ahead of you, I guess.
Right,
yeah. She graduated in '72. Yeah.
Okay, so
Ornamental horticulture.
you married a local girl.
I married a local girl who was pretty well raised right here in Fairhope. Her name was Carla Odom. Her mom and dad, her dad was Thomas Odom, who was ran the armory for years at the Fort Real Armory, and of course Shirley, her mother, right here in Fairhope. So I had a lot of roots right here in Fairhope. When I first got out of college, I started working at Holmberg Nursery, which is right a little bit south of town on Oldberg Road, and working in the greenhouses. After that, I went to Gulf Farms in Foley. After I left Gulf Farms with Foley, Mayor Nix, one night or one day we got together at it was a wedding reception for, I believe it was Susie Rockwell, and I was at the wedding reception and we got talking about beautifying Fairhope, and he was looking for somebody to do everything and plant flowers and trees and get the charm in Fairhope and where the people can enjoy it 360 days a year. So that's basically what happened. And so we got together, and I was hired as the first city horticulturist in the state of Alabama back in 1983. Since then, as things went along, I was added other jobs and other promotions, I guess you'd call it. In 1985, I became the street superintendent, and that enabled me to have control of all the city crews.
Oh.
And so I was able to do everything in the town.
So you do the flowers and the street?
I do the flowers in the streets at that time. Since then, now I do all the public works, which are the streets, along with the streets is the garbage, the trash, recycling, the landfill, all the buildings, pretty much anything that's not utilities, I'm responsible for.
Wow, that's a big job.
It keeps me busy.
It keeps you hopping. And your front desk when I came in was really busy.
We get more and more people moving into the area, and as the town grows, we have to be able to take care of all the people.
Yeah, that's right. So tell us how you first set about, what did you decide to do first in Fairhope? And why did you decide to do it first?
Okay. Well, I've always enjoyed Fairhope, and I had so many friends and family who were right here in the Fairhope area, so I really wanted to stay here. I was set to go to Kentucky to take another job, and that's the reason I was so kind of ears open to see if I would stay, and the mayor and I agreed to give it about 3 full months and see if I enjoyed it, and so I started working with the garden clubs, going around talking with them, and so basically the first thing on the agenda was to try to highlight a lot of the places that had beauty in Fairhope that were just either overgrown or just needed a little cleaning up. And we just started one by one going to these.
Do you remember what the first project was?
First project I started was the Bluffs. I started on North Bayview, cleaning the bluffs off so people as they drove along the parks could see the water in the bay. We had a lot of waterfront view, but you couldn't see it. And we went from there, and then we went right at the top of the pier area, where you go down to the pier. A lot of that had overgrown and just was, you didn't even know it was down there, and we started on that, cleaning that up. After we started cleaning all these places up, then we started adding flower beds. I guess one of the first flower beds we added was right there in front of the old Colonial Inn, which was right across from on South Mobile. That was one of the first flower beds we built. And then it just kind of mushroomed from there. And of course the rose garden, we put a fountain in down at the pier. We built the fountain. The flowers, the rose garden was put in because a gentleman by the name of Alton Shermer, who donated all the money to buy the roses.
Oh, wonderful.
And so that's how the rose garden came about. And it had a number of other people who, Niemeyer, can't remember the first name, who...
Brad or Ed or...
can't remember which one, but he donated the monies to buy all the crepe myrtles that we lined Fairhope Avenue with. We had the Rotary Club at the time. They bought and raised money to buy all the trees that were planted in downtown Fairhope as you see today. So everybody started getting together and getting part of the action. I remember the first year after I took over, there was over $15,000 that was donated by private citizens that just wanted to help and be part of the movement to make the town pretty and a charming community like we already knew we had. They just wanted to be part of it, and that's how we started. We started adding sidewalks. That was another project the mayor and council passed, to add a mile of sidewalks a year so people could walk and enjoy.
Have they done that?
We've been trying to add a mile each year.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So all these little projects have been coming along. We had a number of local people who had talent, such as Buddy Richmond, a local architect, who helped design some of the downtown area to show how we could put the corners with the brick pavers and plant the main corners and intersections. So he drew those up, and we went from there. He donated his time and energy. He also donated his time to help design the fountain as far as the shape. So when the city crews built the fountain, it was down at the Rose Garden. So we have a number of people who helped me, you know, with picking ideas. And so as we started doing things, we devoted, after we cleaned the bluffs, the mayor wanted to get the downtown alive and active, because during the early parts of the 70s we built the shopping centers and everybody was moving out of the downtown areas, and he didn't want to be like a lot of the other towns and communities that it just goes dead.
Oh, yes.
So that was my major task, was to make it inviting for people to come downtown and shop. And so we started adding the little flowers here and flower beds, and he wanted to be known as, I can remember being interviewed by one of the local TV stations, I guess back in 1984 or thereabouts, known as Carmel of the South. Well, since then everybody says, oh, we don't want to be known as Carmel, and just recently we had a call from the president of the Chamber of Commerce from Carmel, who was visiting the area and was so impressed with our downtown and how it was, and asked the mayor, could he have drawings on our new welcome center we just built? Could we have some drawings, because they'd like to have the same thing similar.
Wonderful.
So
I think Mayor Nix mentioned that, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay, that's super. Yeah.
Tell me about the duck pond. How'd that happen?
okay, that was another project we started back in I guess 1984. That was my first winter. That was one of my early projects. We started down on the north end of the beach. That area had been just overgrown. It was just dirt trails down through there.
Yeah, we remember that.
And I remember during my high school years, you know, parking down there and doing all the other things that you do. But It was such a beautiful piece of property that we decided to try to clean it out because we were getting complaints from residents that did a lot of walking, that people could hide in the bushes because, you know, with...
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it was decided to go in and clean it out. Well, once we started cleaning, we saw we had such a beautiful little area in there, and we started refurbishing the area. We understand there was bridges and areas in there already years ago, but over the years, settlement had filled in all the ponds and the areas that was already down there. So basically, we just went in and brought back a lot of the beauty that was down there years ago that people just forgot about or just didn't know about.
Was the spring still there running down?
The springs are still there. They're all fed live springs.
Yeah, and it was still, you said it had
You
all
still
filled
have it,
in, but it was...
But the springs were
was
still there, and
okay.
it was like a wet area, and it was just very unmanageable.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in there and dug where the springs were and added a little bit, and it took 2 winters before we got through digging down there myself. I had to learn how to run a little backhoe. I got some of the old wore-out equipment that I could borrow from the street crew at the time, because I was just the city horticulturist and had myself and about 3 other people, and we worked down there all winter cleaning out that area and trying to make it something nice and attractive. We did run into a little trouble with the Corps of Engineers because they were concerned, but after they came over, the only violation they saw was that we were dropping sand when the trucks would haul off some of the material. They said that was a little bit of contamination as far as drippings from the backs of the truck. Well, I assured them when we got through we would replant everything with grass and sod. We borrowed a sod cutter from the Grand Hotel and went up to the ballparks and cut some of the grass in some of the areas in the outlying areas so we didn't have to buy sod. Because at those early days we didn't have money to spend on a lot of the projects, so we tried to use what we had, and we sodded all that with grass that was in vacant areas in a lot of the places from Valana and also off at Young Street Recreation Center out there where we had grass areas.
You said one time, I think you came to the Civitan Club and said that you got started by using the income from the use of the pier and the beach down there during the summertime.
We still do a lot of the revenue, almost all the park areas and these bluff areas from down along the Rose Garden and down in all those projects we fund through the charging of the little ticket booth. You know, we have a guard down there. It's free to the city residents and also people who are on our utility system. But everybody else pays a fee to come and use the park, and that helps us maintain it and keep it clean, and then also add all the things that everybody gets to enjoy down there. So we're happy that we have it, and one of the main things the Mayor Nick's always told me, that everything had to pay for itself. So anything we do, as long as you can generate enough income to kind of offset it, and then it pays its own way, it's something else that's attractive for the community and everybody can benefit. So if we can do those things, then we can keep adding things.
Well, you don't have your whole flower budget coming out of the beach.
Not out of that.
Well, where does that come from?
The rest of the budget comes out of the general fund.
Okay.
And that's from your ad valorem taxes that are collected through all the city residents. And we figure that it's less than $5 a year per resident that we spend to keep the charm and the beauty that we do around town. So we think it's well worth the investment that we've made.
I think most everybody else does too. Okay, any more questions? Tell me a little bit about how you always manage to have flowers blooming when you plant them.
Well, I was able to, when I first got started, was able to take a couple courses at Disney World, went down to Disney World, and I stole some of their philosophy of doing things, and it's called instant landscaping. And basically what we do, we grow all our plants at the greenhouse, almost all the annuals that you see around town. And we'll put them in larger containers, so when we get ready to put them out, they a lot of times are already blooming or pretty close to blooming before we plant these things.
So you have all your daffodils in containers?
All the daffodils, tulips, most of the tulips are already in pots that we grow, and then we'll place these out as when they get to a certain stage so everybody can enjoy them.
Now, when you dig them up to plant something else, do you take them back to the greenhouse?
Take them back to the green. And daffodils stay in the pots, and we try to reuse them every year. Some places we'll go ahead and just plant them and let them just die down in those areas, like some along the bluffs and whatnot. But basically, we try to reuse everything we can. We'll take it back to the greenhouse area and let it wait till next year.
And will tulips do that too?
The tulips we can. That's the only thing out of all the things we're hoping in fact, this year we built a cold storage facility to hold all our bulbs because we were getting so big to help, and we're going to do some experimenting there to try to save some of the tulips so we wouldn't have to purchase them every year.
Yeah. That's quite innovative.
And we've built, most of the things we do with our own crews. The brick project downtown was all done by my crews. All the we have 3 greenhouses that we grow the flowers in that you see around town, and we built those with city crews. I can remember, I guess it was about 6 years ago, I guess now, as time flies, Mason McGowan, who just south of town he started a tree nursery, and we got some 900 trees that he gave us. We had to go dig them and plant all these trees.
Wow.
And that was a major undertaking of planting trees that year.
I should say that was 900.
900 trees. So, and everybody that digs up something in the yard, whether it's a azalea or a tree, and they think it's something of value, they always call me and say, "Can I use this somewhere?" before they discard it. So, really, people are really into the beauty and want to see the charm stay that way.
It just automatically does away with all the bad places.
Well,
Or almost all.
we do, and it's catching because when you start cleaning up, well, then everybody else wants to be part of it, and it just mushrooms, and that's how we went about it, and we felt the city had to set the example, and so when we cut grass on the right-of-way, we make sure we pick up the paper ahead of time, and weed eat around the stop signs and the corners and the intersections, because it'd be like wearing a $400 suit and wearing a pair of tennis shoes. You can do everything, and it just would stick out.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I was thinking when a bunch of kids, young people, were really embarrassed by the old theater building, and they got busy and painted it. Well, that just started everybody else wanted to kind of clean theirs up because they didn't want to be worst looking one on the street.
Right.
And that's what happens.
And I think it's a good thing. And then you get the spirit of people, because Fairhope is so known for volunteerism and being part of something and helping do things. And I think that's what makes Fairhope, what's so great about Fairhope is the people. I've never been anywhere else where somebody will try to help you, and wherever you're in need, and then also get involved with different community groups. And they don't rely on the government or the cities or whatever to do things. They go out and do it themselves. They'll find a way, and they just go do it. And I think that's
what
great.
they always have done in Fairhope. I mean, they had to do it.
That's right.
Really, seriously, in the beginning. And of course, they planted some trees. They paid $7 a tree to people that plant those big old live oak trees down between like Summit Street and Bayview. And they paid the people that lived there $7 a piece
$7 a tree.
planting those trees.
How about that?
Way back.
Tell me, I've noticed something new here lately, and that is it's been cleaned out around the steps that go down the bluff in front of what used to be the Colonial Inn, and what I guess someday will be again. I don't know. I noticed it was cleaned out. Is there a project in the wind, or is that it?
That was basically, we had a number of people who, now everybody walks, and which is great. And we were getting some people that were concerned in the evenings, especially because it was so dark, and the shrubbery and the weeds and the vines were growing over the stairwell. I thought it was neat and attractive, but
My
were-
how times have changed, because when I walked with my boyfriend down to the movie and then walked back home, that was a good place to stop for a minute or two.
But now with people concerned, people hiding in bushes, and police be able to see visual and be able to see better, and we have a lot of young people, they hang out in those areas, down in that area now. And to keep it safer, I think, for everybody, they felt if we could open it up to make sure there's nobody, you know, it's hard to believe things like that would happen in Fairhope, but you have to look.
That's right.
And so we want to be safe, and so we did clean up that area, and it is a nicer view now. There's a bench that sits on the top, and you can sit at the bench and watch the sunset. So we plan to add some more benches and do some other things, but you know, we wanted to be able to, people could enjoy the view too as well. So we just went in there and did it all at one time.
Where do you keep the ducks?
The ducks. That's an interesting thing. When we first started the duck pond, of course there was no ducks down at that time. And Doc Goodard and his wife,
is that Little Doc?
Little Doc.
Okay.
And Buddy. Okay, they had ducks all over their place, and a few of them started coming up towards our place, and we could never get any to stay, so we finally caught a couple of them and got them over there. And when they had their little chicks, well, things would I don't know, the chicks would disappear, so we could never get a little stand started. So I can remember when I talked to the animal control officer at the time. I said, we're going to go down and catch the baby chicks, and we're going to get them a mother, and we're going to raise ducks. Well, they thought I was crazy, but we did that for about 2 years. We raised about anywhere from 10 to 15 ducks back we made a little area for them back here in the back of the city compound. And we actually raised the ducks. And some of them are still down, I imagine, because the ones that are very tame and just kind of come up to you and don't move when you drive down through there. Those are the ones that were pets. Now we get a lot of people dropping off geese and whatnot. But in the early years, we didn't have any, and we thought it'd be nice to have them, so we went ahead and got the ducks up to a size where they would survive the elements, because you have cats, you have raccoons, you have crows, and so we cheated with Mother Nature a little bit and helped the ducks come along.
But they're reproducing down there
now. They're reproducing. We get a group every now and then come floating through with their little chicks, and it's really, really interesting. They mate all around down through there.
The geese are marvelous. They have their own agenda, and if you want to do anything about moving them, you better not. The other day we were out walking up by the pond, and there was two cars coming, and they were waiting, and they were getting impatient because here was 6 those big white geese just standing in the road, and they wouldn't move. And so Paula decided that she would shoo them off, and she went up, and they still weren't going to move much. Finally she got them moving, except this one big old gander, and he turned around and got his head up in the air, and he was going to attack her.
They will too.
They something else, but it's I tell you, but it turned out nice, and I think we've had people married on the bridge. That little bridge we built ourselves down there. We had different little magazines. We were looking at all different little bridges along, and I remember showing my carpenters, and we sketched a little design to cut out that little design star we put on the side, and we ended up building it ourselves, and now we have people married on that. So it's the whole park down there is well used, and it's really enjoy
it's really a treasure.
We want to keep it that way.
Yeah. Well, we at the single tax office are just very, I mean, when I was there, we were just very happy when anything like that happened. And we worked real hard not to let people commercialize.
Right.
Because it was against
the
agreement, as well as it would just ruin it. And it's just really gratifying to have
It sure is. As I said, you're the most popular man in Fairhope.
Oh,
Except for the few grouchies who don't want any flowers.
well, we have a few, but I think most people, enjoy the beauty and planting of trees. Just like during Arbor Day celebration, we start with the kindergarten. We go to the kindergarten center and we give them all a small tree in a little pot.
Great.
And we tell them that's their very special tree and take that home and plant it and learn about trees, because that's another thing I think that Fairhope has so many beautiful live oak trees and old trees. A lot of them got historical value, that this one was planted back or something happened under that tree years and years ago. So we kind of get the children thinking about that, because if you don't keep planting a few trees over and over, you'll wake up one day and all the trees will be gone.
That's right.
Because now everybody cuts the grass and trims, and they don't realize that tree keeps growing, and then one day we wake up and they're all about 100 years old and all falling apart, and there's no young trees to come up to take over.
What's your feeling about trying to preserve these trees beyond their really ability to be a good, healthy tree?
Well, we have some trees we're going to have to start really looking at because of liability, especially in areas where we do have a lot of traffic and people walking. We're going to have to trim these back. Last thing you want to get somebody hurt.
Yeah.
In the forest, you don't worry. The tree's not a problem unless there's it has to have a target.
Yeah.
So if there's no target for it to fall on and hurt somebody, well, there's nothing wrong with the tree.
Right.
Just let nature take care of itself. Some of them fall apart and other animals move into them. But in the urban setting, you have to look at a lot more things.
That's right.
You've got to be considerate of other people and their possessions, and so it's harder, and so you're going to have to work harder on the trees.
It was quite a stir when you trimmed some of the trees down in Knoll Park one time, but after you did it, to me, it looked better, a lot better, and I thought it was safer and everything. And those azaleas, even the trimming them back, that people were objecting
that
to,
really caused a stir.
brought them out, because you can trim things back and then they do better.
That's
They
right.
do.
Yeah.
And
Did you take some of the azalea bushes out of Knoll Park?
we were taking some of them out because they were so overgrown and so big, and it was easier for a maintenance standpoint to remove some of them. But then when you do that, since I'm relatively new in the area, I didn't know somebody's grandmother
planted those trees.
planted those
Of azaleas.
And so it's a very
It's
Yeah.
touching.
emotional thing when you start touching something that they remember their grandmother was up in that park planting those, and when they were a small girl, they played Easter egg hunt around that tree, and so everything has a unique thing for everybody, and so I don't know all that. So then I said, well, I'll regroup here, and then we're going to do something to Knoll Park. I'd like to make it where people can walk through it and enjoy it and be able to sit and enjoy nature. I don't want to see it commercialized like you were saying, but I still think
a few benches won't hurt.
the benches and some walk paths for people, not sidewalks per se, but maybe have like the crushed granite that you build. Give a walking service, because you have to worry about the elderly to be able to walk in these things and have them safe where they don't fall and hurt themselves.
You certainly do. That's the job of you young folk.
So we've got to be able to do those things for everybody, and everybody be able to enjoy them. And you can't just leave one group out and say, well, if you can't do it, you can't do it. But that park is such a beautiful park and a beautiful location that everybody ought to be able to enjoy.
There's history that says that is a mound, an original, one of those mounds.
Indian mounds.
Yeah,
Right.
like at Moundville, only.
Well, I'd heard that, but I didn't think it was ever anything to it. I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know whether
They
it used to be a
wouldn't- They were
monument.
going to, somebody was going to start excavating, and of course they didn't get anywhere with it, and because nobody wanted it dug up.
Yeah, right.
Well, anyway, is there any other questions that you wanted me to talk about, other things I do, or?
Anything you have, you...
Oh, goodness.
Yes, goodness, go on and on.
Well, I don't know.
This is your chance.
My chance to be famous for
Right.
one day.
Everybody will be famous for 15 minutes, according to Andy Warhol.
Okay.
So this is your chance, and it's been more than 15 minutes, so...
So I need to quit.
No!
You have more than most.
Oh.
Anything else we'd like to know about, perhaps in the future, that you're doing that might be forgotten if we don't record it?
Well, the only future projects I have is Knoll Park. That's going to be something everybody's going to be proud of when we get finished, because I want to do some things up in there to bring a lot of the nature back, and maybe have it where a lot of our children's children can come back and be able to see some of the varieties of trees and some of the native things that are part of the communities before a lot of things get wiped out.
Yeah.
And get some of those planted in the area. I like to have things for the birds to be able to come in, so when you're sitting up there enjoying the life and just taking a restful afternoon stroll, that you can sit and watch the birds and enjoy it. And that's what we want to encourage in those areas. And when I get it all together and put it together, then I will have a few meetings with the single tax people and other people to put in some input. So when we start, then everybody will be happy, and it'll be something that'll benefit the community. We can't do everything to please everybody, but we sure can make sure if there's something of value and memory up there that we don't destroy and we protect it. There's a lot of trees that need to be planted up in the park, because currently there's just a lot of the large pines. And if we have another Frederick or something, and it comes along, and it blows those other 25 trees down that were still up in there, well, then you can see it'll just be a grass knoll. It won't be a nice knoll anymore that everybody remembers.
They're leaning.
That's right. Yeah.
So you have to think about all that, and we're planning for the hope we don't ever have no storms.
Right.
They might see some of the trees being replaced downtown in the next few years. They're getting to be such large trees that they're going to cause other problems. So in the middle of the night, you're going to see a tree replaced and another tree of pretty good size just replaced.
Right in its place.
Right in its place.
You're talking about on Fairhope Avenue?
That's the Bradford pears.
Well, they get limber and break and
They
things.
break easy.
Yeah.
They're a short-lived tree. They're 20 years. So you figure if they were planted in early 80s, 81 I believe they were first planted. So you see we're getting on into the 20-year span on those trees. So
That's right.
and everybody loves that type of tree. It'd be hard for me to do away with. But so we've already started planting trees at the nursery to take those places, and we'll have a large tree that will come in there one night and change it out. We call it our Fairhope magic. So when you come in the morning, you say, you know something happened, but you don't figure out how it happened.
Or exactly what.
Maybe.
It was funny, after I drove out, after Frederick, and I was living in North Carolina at the time, and I drove out Morphy Avenue, I couldn't believe it. They never had that much sunshine come through until Frederick took all those trees out.
We've been working hard planting trees back.
Yeah.
Our major undertaking after Knoll Park will be the 4-lane, which is taking a lot of criticism out on Greeno Road. And we have not done anything to that highway since I've been here in Fairhope since '83. It's because ever since I've been here, it's been, well, we're going to 4-lane the highway. And so I couldn't see spending a lot of money and effort planting trees and then have them all ripped up when they're getting to their peak.
And to save the state money because they didn't have to buy them.
Right. Well, they just bulldoze them down, and I get, just tears you up to see things.
Oh, there's
So,
a couple of big pine trees that really hurt.
It really did, and we saved some of the live oaks out there.
And that brings up the subject of the one that was girdled with the
over
chainsaw.
there by the chainsaw.
Do you think it's going to make it, or was it pretty deep, or?
It's probably going to have to be replaced. It's something that drastic to a tree. It'll live for a few years, but it'll steadily go on a decline because there's no way for it to grow back over those areas. So it's pretty sad,
It sure is.
And that's the first time I've known something like that in Fairhope. But I don't know, people have crazy ideas, and we just can't let that get you down and say, well, somebody will tear up a tree or this, because that's my philosophy when we plant the flowers and the trees. If I worried about them ripping them up and destroying them, we might never plant anything.
Yeah.
That's right.
You just got to keep going, and I figured the good in everybody will keep the trees out there.
Yeah. Well, people have been good about not picking the flowers. Some people do pick them.
Some pick.
We were driving down the connector from the 4-lane to Section Street the other day, and a woman was out of the car picking a flower, and I backed up and blew my horn and said, appreciate it if you wouldn't pick the flowers. And of course, by that time, she had gotten back in her car, and they were on their way. But it was a mobile car, and I did not appreciate it, and I reported it to the police.
In fact, they went out trying to find them. I didn't
Sure
know
they
who
did.
called, but that's
Oh,
what
they did? You know they did,
Yeah.
okay.
So we do work hard, and the police do run them out, because we do want the flowers for everybody to enjoy.
Sure,
not
it's
just
for everybody, not for just one person.
The roses we cut, when we cut them on Mondays, when we do have a lot of extra roses, we try to give them to the hospital, and people go out there and the church groups come. So we have little groups that we give the roses to.
And you,
when
group
people
gave,
come through.
your crew gave me some one time to take to my mother,
Right.
who was
We've
about
always-
88 at the time.
We always try to help people, and as long as it's a Fairhope activity, it's something that's part of Fairhope, and I try to do what I can. I can't do it for everybody. We used to do it, and then we got to, we couldn't do it all the time for weddings and different things at the churches. So we cut back to where we cut them on Mondays, unless it's a real special event, and like a 50th anniversary.
Oh, it's on Mondays?
And Mondays.
Now I know.
So every
We'll go
Monday,
down there.
every Monday you can go down there and get all the roses you want.
Wonderful.
Collect all the old petals you want, use for potpourri, which a lot of people like to do.
Yeah.
So, what can I say?
Okay.
Other
Well, that's
activities I do is, I know you asked earlier, I'm a member of St. Lawrence Church. I help with the building committee. We built the new church. So I fought to keep the live oak that was in the front. That was probably one of the things they were going to cut.
Oh.
So we actually had to shrink the church, and we moved the church to save the tree. And now everybody's just so tickled to death that we saved the tree out front, because that just makes the whole church,
It
in my
really
opinion.
does.
And so, and also I'm on the parish council at the church. I'm also on the planning and zoning board for the City of Fairhope. Been there since, I guess, '85. Went through all the wars with the redevelopment, and it's hard, because no matter what decisions you make, it's a hard job to decide who does what and what with your property, and so we have to vote what you think is best for Fairhope, and not just for a small group of people, and that's what we're trying to do on planning and zoning, and control the growth as best we can. It's a hard undertaking.
And when we're all, I'm just digging my heels in saying, no, don't let anybody else in. And yet I know it's inevitable, so I'm glad that we have a zoning and planning board.
And I've enjoyed it. I'm also affiliated with them. I've also been a fire chief for 4 years in Fairhope. I've been a member since 1978, so I've been around the fire department for a number of years. That was a major undertaking up till 2 years ago. I guess I stepped down as fire chief. They getting used to me being in there, and I said, well, it's all volunteer, and you don't get paid for all these other activities, so I had to start cutting back somewhere. I'm on the tree board, Faulkner State Planning Committee. That's Faulkner State, where we try to get everything organized where all the buildings went on Faulkner campus.
When is that
Centennial Hall? Hopefully soon. We'd like to get that
I
dedicated.
see they're
and
putting
open.
some finishing on the outside now.
It's getting close. They keep putting it off a few days, so I don't know. One day they'll get finished with it.
Building something takes forever.
But all these other little activities I enjoy because I want to be part of Fairhope, and I think you have to, if you want something. And I'm young now, so I figured I'd give all my time while I'm young.
There
And
you
when
go.
I get a little older, I won't have as much energy, and then I can cut back on just a few projects.
You got the right idea.
You can go out and fuss with the rest of us.
Do you have children in Fairhope?
I've got two daughters, both of them in, one's at the middle school, and she's in the 7th grade, and the oldest one's in the 10th grade. So I'm very proud of them. I understand the youngest one's going to be inducted in the National Honor Society on the 20th, and the oldest one is going in the National Honor Society on the 16th.
Well,
she was
wonderful.
already in the Junior Honor Society, so I'm real proud of those two girls, Krista and Carrie. My wife Carla, of course. I don't know, I'm gonna do anything I can to make Fairhope the best it can be.
Very good. Well, we're glad to have you here. I'm glad they didn't close the door before you got here.
Oh, good.
And thanks very much for letting us talk to
Okay.
you. She's Ruth Rockwell, as you know, and I'm Flo Schneider, and I usually put that on the tape, so I'll do it now.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
No.